Welcome to Quick Bytes, a series of brief videos on leveraging the Texas open and closed data portals. I'm Stacy Lewis, Data Portal Administrator. In this video, we are going to look at exporting and APIs, and this is going to be especially helpful for working with larger and more complex data sets. The Open Data Portal, also known as the ODP, hosts data sets of varying sizes and complexity. A great example of a large data set is DIR's Cooperative Contract Sales Data, which contains information from 2010 to the present. With over 7 million rows across 49 columns, that is a lot of information to work with. A major benefit of the ODP is that consumers can work with the data right on the platform to filter, sort, and visualize. But what about those individuals that prefer to work with the data offline and they would like to export or download the data? One of the most common tools used for analyzing that downloaded data is Microsoft Excel. You can see that the first two download options are CSV and CSV for Excel. You would be able to see the formatting differences when opened in a text file, but these options open it the exact same way in Excel. CSV stands for comma or character separated value, and this is a simple text file that you can open in a wide variety of programs. The idea is that you can export complex data from one program to a CSV file, and then import or open the data using another program. Important to remember, CSV is just a data format. It is not a program that can open or work with data. Although CSV files are most commonly encountered in spreadsheets and databases, they can be opened by a number of programs, including text editor, numbers, Google Sheets, of course Excel, and hundreds of other options. But because the CSV is only a format, it will be subject to the limitations of the program in which the file is opened. Let's look at a few examples of these limitations. The biggest concern is typically the number of rows. However, Excel also has a character limit within individual cells. So for complex data sets such as geospatial, like this Texas county's boundary map, the cell limit may be exceeded. In this case, if I open the downloaded data in Excel, it will wrap the text down to a new line. This can make it appear like the download was corrupted. Excel can handle the largest amount of data at over 1 million rows. Rows beyond this limit will not be displayed, and the download will appear incomplete. Additionally, data consumers will have different systems and storage capabilities. They may not be able to successfully download and open these large or complex data sets as they are. So what are the options? Well, for files that exceed the cell limitations, I could open the file using a text editor. Although not as commonly used to open spreadsheet data, they are more foolproof since they do not have specific row limits or cell limits. So you can open the complex data set without error or limit warnings and hopefully get what you need here. Now for data sets that don't exceed the cell limits, but they do exceed the row limits, a better option is to filter the data set on the platform before downloading to select the rows that I would be interested in. Then I can ensure that the download is within the limitations of the program that I would work in. Another option is to use the API to do the work for me in exporting, rather than having to work through the filters and hope I'm within my limit. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It enables data exchange and involves a set of defined rules that explain how programs talk to each other. All communication with the API is done via Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, better known as HTTPS. This secures communication and data transfer between a user's browser and a website. Specifically for the Open Data Portal, we use the Socrata Open Data or SODA API endpoint. This URL exists for all datasets, both published versions and working copies. This endpoint allows you to consume data or publish to the dataset. In our case today, we're going to discuss exporting using the API. There are two ways to access the API endpoint. First is from the primer page. Select API from the top right menu bar, which will open a pop-up window. From this window, you can see the API endpoint ready to be copied, and also you could go to the API docs. To access from the data table, click on the blue Export button from the top panel and select Soda API to open the API dropdown. We have the API endpoint and also the API docs. This is an example of the information contained in the API docs for my cooperative contracts dataset. The API docs includes a variety of information on the dataset, as well as a section on downloading and exporting. I want to briefly talk about the structure of the endpoint. It always consists of the ODP address, data.texas.gov/resource, and then another /. Then it contains the Asset Unique Identifier, or the UID. This is also known as the 4x4, as it is 4 characters, a dash, and then 4 more characters. At the very end of the endpoint is my data format. Although the name of the asset may change, or other details such as layout, the UID will always stay the same. You can easily find the UID, or 4x4, by going to the asset and looking at the URL or web address, as you can see highlighted here. Now I could put this endpoint into my browser just as is, but the API has a default limit of returning 1,000 rows of data at a time. All I need to do is modify the parameters of the API using a very easy method. I'm going to combine 3 parameters to download parts of my very large data set. The offset parameter will tell the API what row I want to start with. The limit parameter tells the API how many rows I would like to download. And the order parameter keeps my data set sorted so that the order of rows are stable when I'm downloading different parts of the data set. In my example here, you can see I've used my limit in the first URL, 5,000 rows. In the second, I wanted 1 million rows. The offset, again, was what row I wanted the API to start with for my download. And for the order, I wanted to sort by fiscal year, but I could have used any column to sort ascending or descending. The most important thing is to still be aware of the limits in the program you're going to open that file in. By combining these parameters, I can easily create a number of API queries or URLs to quickly download parts of my data set that I'm going to open in Excel. So taking into account my Excel limit, I just asked for 1 million rows per API. And again, that's the limit parameter. I then told each API what row to start on. That's my offset. And the order at the end, I asked it to sort by fiscal year. The first URL, it will download 1 million rows starting at the beginning. My second API query, or the second URL, will start at row 1,000,001 and download the next 1 million rows, and so on. By entering each API into my web browser, I can automatically download each part of this dataset very quickly. Would you like to learn more about using the Soda API to interact with data? Check out the developer site at dev.socrata.com. I hope this has been a helpful introduction into using APIs. As always, please don't hesitate to reach out with questions or suggestions on future Quick Byte videos. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.